Hey, welcome to the Halfway to Dead podcast. Episodes are working a little different this week, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to be honest with you. Here's what happened. I have a very special episode coming out this week. It's going to be coming out tomorrow. And it's kind of, spoiler alert, 1-year anniversary for Jen and the old Halfway to Dead podcast here. So I've done a really cool compilation of all of my favorite highlights, my favorite quotes from my guests, and all that good stuff. Tomorrow's the real 1-year anniversary. So that's going to drop tomorrow. And I had a couple snafus in the editing of it. I wanted to add a couple things, move a couple things around. Technology sometimes doesn't always work with us properly, and neither does my time management. I'll just be honest. So it's coming out tomorrow. But what I wanted to drop for you guys today is something I've been playing with. I've been using this little AI program, and I know very little about AI, but it's all the rage. It's everywhere. And so, I'm trying to get on board. I'm trying to say, hip and cool, finish this life strong, blah, blah, blah. And what I did for fun was I uploaded all of my solo episodes from the last year, where it's just you and Jen riding solo. And then I asked it to make a podcast based on those 4 podcasts. And I'm just going to tell you right now, that's what's next. Keep listening because it's coming. These are not real people. You're not going to believe it when you hear it. Listen, these are not real people, but it sounds like it's a podcast talking about me and my podcast. It's crazy, you guys. Anyway, I'm going to drop it. I thought it was so interesting, and I'm not pretending this is real, you guys. This is AI. Right? These 2 voices sound really cool together, like they're 2 friends having a convo about the old podcast. It's AI. We're going to dive into AI more this year. I have some guests that are going to show us how we can use AI better in our spiritual journey. So that's why I've been kind of researching this. So listen to this AI-produced podcast about Jen and the Halfway to Dead podcast. I think it summarizes my solo episodes really well. I hope you enjoy and be ready for tomorrow's big anniversary episode. I also have bonus content coming out this week with outtakes and really funny shit to listen to. Anyway, it's all coming out this week. But for today, let's jump in and hear what these 2 little computer-generated people had to say about Jen and her solo episodes.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a truly unique exploration. We're diving into the wisdom shared by Jen, the insightful host of the Halfway to Dead podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Her show is really a fascinating guide, especially for midlifers, looking to sort of flip the script and redefine what it means to truly live life on their own terms.
That's right. Jen's approach, it really focuses on reconnecting with your higher self.
Yeah.
That authentic, unburdened essence of you, and reclaiming inner peace. She talks about it as a midlife spiritual journey.
Right.
So our mission in this deep dive is really to unpack her personal insights, her core beliefs, and crucially, the practical tools she offers. We want to give you valuable, actionable takeaways for your own path, whatever stage you're at.
Yeah, and we've gathered some really compelling material, actually directly from Jen's solo deep dives on her own show. It covers everything from the powerful meaning behind her podcast name right through to her daily spiritual practices.
It's a really rich source of aha moments.
Definitely. And we're excited to share these sort of distilled insights with you. So let's jump right in with something that immediately grabs your attention. The name itself, Halfway to Dead.
Yeah.
It sounds provocative, doesn't it? A bit morbid, maybe.
But Jen explains it's actually deeply rooted in a powerful concept from Brené Brown.
Indeed. And Brené Brown describes midlife not really as a crisis, but more like a slow, brutal unraveling.
Okay.
It's a period where, as Brown puts it, your armor is keeping you from the gifts I've given you. So for Jen, Halfway to Dead isn't morbid at all. It signifies exactly this turning point. It's like the universe whispering or maybe shouting, I'm not fucking around, time is up. It's really a call to shed those old protections, that emotional armor that's actually hindering your personal growth.
Preventing you from fully experiencing life.
Exactly. It's that moment of profound recognition where you realize, okay, the old ways just aren't serving you anymore. They're holding you back. And what's compelling, I think, is that the visual identity, the logo for the podcast, carries a similar depth. It features a symbol called a unalom.
The unalom.
Jen shares that this symbol, which originates in Buddhism, powerfully maps out the spiritual journey.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how the unalom visually sort of demystifies what a spiritual path really looks like. It's not a straight line.
No.
It starts with a beautiful flower, symbolizing rebirth, that initial awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see these spirals,
Right.
which Jen interprets as our emotions, our human mistakes, all the detours that, often get in the way of enlightenment. It kind of normalizes the messiness, showing that our struggles are actually part of it.
Integrated.
Yeah, integrated.
Yeah.
And as understanding grows, those loops tighten, indicating, growing clarity and a clearer path. Then there's the straight line, signifying being on the right path with clear vision, often associated with the third eye opening. And Jen added an arrow to her design for continuous forward direction. And then 3 dots at the end symbolize the ultimate goal of enlightenment, a state separate from life and ego, may be achieved on the other side.
Wow.
It's a reminder that the journey isn't linear, but every twist actually contributes to clarity in the end. She feels deeply reflected in it, apparently. Plans to get it tattooed.
That's commitment. And Jen's dedication to her listeners and her community is really evident, too. She celebrates reaching episode 10, highlighting some pretty impressive podcasting statistics. Seems like a big deal for her.
It absolutely is. I mean, most podcasts, something like 47%, don't make it past episode 3.
Really?
Yeah, and only a tiny fraction, like 156,000 out of millions, ever hit episode 10. So for Jen's show, which is relatively new, to not only reach that milestone, but also hit the top 100 in the spirituality category on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
That's truly remarkable.
This shows it's resonating.
Definitely. Her audience is primarily midlifers, age 35 to 65 plus cider, mostly women, about 65%. But she's reaching thousands across over 20 countries, Germany, Asia, Africa, Australia, Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
It really speaks to how universally these themes of midlife awakening and self-discovery resonate.
Yeah, absolutely. And she really encourages connection and engagement with her audience using some interesting methods to foster that community feel.
She's very proactive about it.
Yeah.
It's not just asking for the usual 5-star reviews and shares, though she does that too, explaining how it helps the algorithms.
Right. The visibility.
Yeah. But she also offers unique ways to connect. For instance, listeners can submit topic or guest suggestions anonymously via her website. She jokes it's like those anonymous high school sex ed questions.
Uh-huh.
And there's even a new app feature allowing you to literally text Jen quick feedback directly. It really makes the listener feel heard, involved in the show's direction. She's also starting a YouTube channel for video content and adding bonus outtake.
That's great. And if you're wondering about Jen's personality as a host, well, she's completely upfront about her use of humor and sarcasm. It seems like a core part of her identity.
Oh, absolutely. Almost a coping mechanism, she suggests.
Yeah.
She makes it clear that humor and sarcasm are part of her survival mode, something she developed as a childhood coping mechanism. She talks about choosing laughter over crying. It's part of her authentic self, and she's not afraid to say, essentially, if it's not for you, don't listen.
Fair enough.
And that transparency, I think, allows her to create a space where she can be herself, which ultimately builds a stronger connection with listeners who do resonate with her direct, humorous style.
Yeah, that makes sense. Her upfront personality, her humor, it really comes through. And it seems that these qualities, along with specific, sometimes challenging experiences, have really shaped the foundational beliefs that anchor her entire philosophy, right?
Precisely. Her experiences, like she mentioned a particularly challenging interview where a guest used a racist slur. Yeah, these weren't just isolated incidents for her. They served as profound catalysts, solidifying those core beliefs which truly formed the bedrock of her deep dive. She seems to view moments like that as crucial learning experiences that clarify her principles.
So one of her most fundamental beliefs is oneness and equality. This concept of oneness, it's more than just a spiritual idea for her, isn't it? It sounds like she uses it as a foundational principle for how she approaches all relationships and societal issues.
Absolutely. That's the core insight here. For Jen, true equality isn't just like a political ideal, but an inherent spiritual truth. She believes everyone is connected through the oneness, whether you call it God, Source, the universe, whatever resonates.
Right.
And that each person possesses a piece of that divine spark. So this means every single individual, just by virtue of carrying that divine essence, deserves unconditional respect and has an equal claim to a fulfilling life.
So it shifts the focus.
Exactly. It shifts the focus from external differences, race, sexual orientation, whatever, to our shared spiritual essence. It becomes a powerful lens, really, through which to view human interaction and dismantle discrimination. No room for marginalization.
And this belief then naturally extends to the idea of individual paths and authenticity. She talks about staying in one's own lane and being authentic to a pre-Earth plan. What exactly does she mean by that?
Well, Jen believes we all come to Earth with a unique purpose, like a sort of blueprint or pre-Earth plan made with God or Source.
Okay.
So authenticity for her means aligning with that unique plan, which she says always involves kindness, helping others, and giving back in some way. But while she accepts everyone's journey, she also chooses who to include closely in her own life based on alignment. She recognizes that not all paths run parallel to hers.
Makes sense.
And her guiding principle for all of this seems to be when we know better, we do better, which is quite empowering, right?
Yeah.
It allows people to constantly learn and evolve without harsh judgment.
Yeah, that's a great principle. Jen also touches on the concept of past lives and clearly defines herself as spiritual, not religious. When she talks about reconnecting with your higher self and spiritual awakening, how does she distinguish that from traditional religion?
Right. For Jen, the higher self is seen as your true, authentic essence. The part of you unburdened by ego, fear, or societal conditioning. It's the part connected to intuition and universal wisdom.
Okay.
She does believe in multiple past lives, not all necessarily on Earth, for the purpose of learning specific lessons. And as for being spiritual, not religious, she really views spirituality as an individualized quest for meaning, purpose, connection to something greater than oneself.
More personal.
Exactly. It allows her to incorporate various philosophies outside specific religious frameworks. It fosters a direct connection with God, angels, spirit guides, which she sees as these benevolent beings offering guidance from the non-physical realm, past loved ones, and ascended masters.
And when she mentions ascended masters, she specifically names Jesus or Yeshua. What's her perspective on figures like that and her view on what happens after death? It sounds quite different from traditional views.
It is. She views Jesus, or Yeshua, as he's sometimes called in ancient text, as an amazing teacher for what she calls Christ-like consciousness. For her, that means embodying principles of unconditional love, compassion, and service. Significantly, Jen does not believe in a literal hell. She sees God as pure love.
Right.
So her belief is that individuals ascend at different rates, learning their lessons, and eventually everyone reunites on the other side. And this leads to a really powerful personal truth for her. She has absolutely no fear of death.
That's incredible. To have no fear of death, seeing it as a return to God's love, a reunion with loved ones. She even admits to being excited about it. How might that perspective land with someone, maybe from a more traditional religious background, or even just someone grappling with deep existential fears? How does she bridge that?
It is a profound shift, especially compared to traditional fears of judgment or just the unknown afterlife. I think Jen bridges this by constantly emphasizing that core concept of unconditional love as the absolute essence of God.
So if God is love,
then there's no room for eternal punishment. That's her view. This perspective offers potentially immense comfort and liberation from fear. It reframes death not as an end or something to dread, but as a loving homecoming. She really highlights how a spiritual journey allows for that personal, direct relationship with the divine, which can potentially alleviate those fears regardless of your background.
And importantly, Jen maintains an openness to change her beliefs as she grows. It's not about having all the answers locked down, is it?
Not at all. Exactly. She readily acknowledges she might not be right about everything, and she actively gives herself permission to evolve. It reflects a truly, evolving spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And I think that encourages listeners to be equally fluid and gentle with themselves. It's a great reminder that a spiritual path is never static. It's about continuous growth, and just embracing that fluidity is a huge step in itself.
Okay, so moving into the practical side of this journey, Jen emphasizes that the most important thing you need to do, especially at the beginning of your spiritual awakening, is to protect your energy.
Yes, foundational.
This isn't just a fleeting idea. It sounds like a daily woven-in practice for her.
It really is. She starts and ends her day with meditation or prayer. In the morning, she visualizes her chakras, those 7 energy centers in the body, root to crown, each with different colors and functions.
Red, orange, yeah.
Right. Red, orange, yellow, green, light blue, indigo, violet. She sees them as spinning circles of light and affirms simple mantras like, I am grounded for her root chakra, or I am healed for her heart chakra. Then after this, she sets a container.
Okay, what's that?
She visualizes a golden spinning orb around herself, intending that only the highest energy and things that are for her highest good can enter her space for the day. It's like an active way to create a positive, energetic boundary.
And her evening routine also sounds very intentional, very structured.
Yeah, it's designed to ensure restful, protected sleep. She expresses gratitude, asks for protection during sleep. She talks about dimming her chakra lights mentally and asking past loved ones or angels to be like gatekeepers of her subconscious,
Wow.
allowing only what's for her highest good to enter her dreams. And crucially, before her final prayer, Jen makes sure she ends her day on a high note. Laughter is a key coping mechanism for her.
Right, the humor again.
Exactly. She watches funny TV shows like Modern Family or Schitt's Creek or funny online videos. This is a very deliberate counter to doom-scrolling social media before bed, which she strongly advises against.
Good advice. Daily meditation is clearly a non-negotiable for her. She recommends specific apps to help you get started. What stands out about her recommendations?
Well, what's great is she offers a whole spectrum of options. There are accessible free choices and more structured paid apps, showing there's no single right way.
Different tools for different needs.
Precisely. For example, she highlights Insight Timer, huge library of free guided meditations, courses. You can search by topic like healing or anxiety. It's an excellent entry point, really accessible.
Okay.
Then there's Frequency, another free app. This one provides specific HCM Hertz frequencies for things like healing, astral projection, connecting with angels. You can just play them while sleeping.
Interesting.
And for those ready for maybe a deeper dive, she mentions Mind Valley. It's pricier, yeah, but it offers comprehensive courses from well-known spiritual gurus, meditations, and a supportive community feature. It just illustrates how different tools serve different needs along the journey.
And beyond the more, let's say, overtly spiritual tools, Jen also shares what she calls less woo-woo coping mechanisms, especially for those early stages of deep introspection when your mind can just be racing.
Yes, exactly. When you're ruminating or feeling overwhelmed, she actually suggests healthy distraction.
Like what?
Playing phone games, she mentioned Cooking Diary. Apparently, she even joined a competitive guild.
Ha! Really?
Yeah. Or binge-watching shows. The idea isn't to just ignore your feelings, but to temporarily busy the brain, give it a rest from the constant overthinking, and create some mental space for processing later. It's a very practical way to just step back from an intense internal dialogue when needed.
That makes sense. And something we can probably all relate to. Social media management, that's another key area she touches on, right?
Absolutely critical, she thinks. She advises deleting social media apps entirely from your phone if you're in a really bad place mentally. Or, at the very least, strategically eliminating, draining people from your feed, unfollowing, or maybe just muting them for 30 days.
Quietly.
Yeah, it's about a quiet personal release. No need for dramatic public announcements. It's really about curating your digital environment to protect your mental and emotional space.
Good point. And for grounding, getting back into your body, she stresses connecting with nature.
Oh, essential. Essential for energetic stability. Jen advises just going outside, taking off your shoes, walking barefoot on grass, or even concrete if that's all you have. Getting fresh air, sunlight.
Earthing.
Exactly, earthing. Even engaging in gardening. This physical connection helps you feel rooted and present, literally grounding your energy.
Okay, so drawing parallels to the seasons, Jen discusses practices for growth during what she calls the spring phase of your spiritual journey, focusing on expansion and new beginnings.
Yeah, she emphasizes several key practices here. Self-reflection and journaling are crucial, she says, for identifying areas for growth and, importantly, breaking those old patterns. Educating yourself is another pillar, listening to podcasts, workshops, reading books. She highlights Mel Robbins' Let Them theory as an example of a really powerful concept.
What's that?
It's about realizing you cannot control others' perceptions or change them. Instead, you decide if their authentic self fits into your life. It's about reclaiming your power in relationships.
Interesting.
Then there's practicing gratitude, actively thanking others and yourself, and crucially, connecting with like-minded individuals, finding your tribe.
Which can be hard as an adult.
It can. So Jen offers practical tips. Joining local clubs, book clubs, gardening, fitness, signing up for workshops, volunteering. She mentions Kessa for Abused Children as an example, using online platforms like Meetup.com or even Bumble BFF, group travel or retreats, reconnecting with old friends. The key, she says, is just to be open and approachable.
And she also stresses strengthening intuition. Now, for someone new to this, how does she suggest listeners begin to foster that connection? It can feel a bit abstract.
It can. She advises really tuning into your body's physical sensations, like noticing a warm, fuzzy feeling in your gut for a yes, maybe a heaviness in the chest for a no, or scalp tingles when you hear a truth. Yeah. It's about recognizing your body's unique signals.
Pay attention.
Exactly. She also suggests limiting external distractions, just creating quiet space and practicing with small decisions first, using your intuition. She even finds oracle or angel cards useful as a tool to prompt intuition. She recounted how a specific card from Rebecca Campbell's Ancient Stones deck, the Secret Chamber card, really resonated with her own need to slow down and savor life's jewels at that moment.
So it's about finding tools that work for you.
Yes. It illustrates how these tools can offer specific, resonant guidance when you're open to it.
Okay, and finally, Jen likens the process of fall to taking your energy back. This involves releasing leaves, identifying and letting go of energy-draining aspects of your life. And she draws a really clear distinction between leaves and branches.
Yes, that analogy is powerful, isn't it? Leaves are those things that drain your energy. They need to be shed seasonally, you could say. Whereas branches are the fundamental nurturing relationships and aspects of your life that you want to cultivate and keep strong.
So what are some common leaves?
Well, common leaves can be things like limiting beliefs about yourself, genuinely toxic relationships, unfulfilling careers, negative habits like alcohol or sugar addiction, procrastination, even past traumas, material clutter, old goals that no longer fit, negative thinking patterns, fear of change.
Even appearance.
Yeah, even conformity to societal expectations about appearance, like feeling you have to have a certain haircut. Anything that doesn't feel authentically you and drains you. The core idea is to identify what's no longer serving you and consciously, intentionally let it go.
It sounds almost liberating, doesn't it? I know for myself, sometimes just the idea of decluttering my mental space feels like a huge win. Jen's approach makes it feel much more like a necessary spiritual practice. And what are some of her most impactful tips for actually releasing these leaves?
Absolutely. It is incredibly liberating. Among her tips, journaling is a powerful tool again for identifying and processing these leaves. She also suggests physical decluttering, like literally creating a let go box as a tangible way to act that release.
Makes it
Yes. Setting boundaries, learning to say no more often is crucial for stopping the energy drain. And very importantly, after releasing, Jen emphasizes consciously feeding your soul with joyful activities. Things like sourdough baking, neurographics art, crocheting, wood burning, anything creative that uses your mind without technology.
Filling the space.
Exactly. It's not just about letting go, but consciously filling that reclaimed space with something positive, something that raises your vibration. The released energy can either just be enjoyed as spaciousness or redirected to new vibration-raising activities.
Wow. What a truly comprehensive deep dive into Jen's Halfway to Dead philosophy. It's so clear that a spiritual awakening, much like the seasons she describes, is a really unique and gradual process. It requires immense patience and self-compassion, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Jen's journey really highlights that it's about embracing authentic growth, learning from mistakes because they will happen, and allowing yourself the freedom to explore and question everything. The tools and perspectives she shares can genuinely help you navigate your own midlife awakening, whether it's focusing on protecting your energy, connecting more with nature, or bravely releasing what no longer serves you.
Yeah, that idea of being authentic to a pre-Earth plan, as Jen suggests, offers such a powerful framework. It makes you think. So, as you reflect on your own journey, perhaps consider, what aspects of your life are you currently holding on to, maybe out of habit or fear, that might actually be hindering your authentic path? What leaves are you ready to release to make way for your most fulfilling self?
Listen, I know your time is valuable. And right now, I'm feeling super grateful and totally humbled that you chose to hang out with me today. If this podcast resonates with you, could you do me a solid and hit that subscribe or follow button? That's going to help you out because you're never going to miss an episode. And it helps me out because you're never going to miss an episode. And if you have like 30 seconds more, could you leave a 5-star rating and maybe leave a kick-ass review? Thank you so much, and I can't wait to continue our journey on the next episode. Oh, and I can't forget the fine print. You know, the legal jargon. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We're just two friends on this journey together, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional. You get it. See you next time.